The Hilton sale is on. Now through September 29th, you can save up to 20% on stays this fall and beyond. Long weekends, last-minute getaways, holiday gatherings. There's a Hilton stay for all of them. More moments, more experiences, more destinations. Now 20% off for a limited time because it matters where you stay. Don't wait. Book by September 29th and save up to 20% at Hilton.com. Terms apply. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
It appears reports of the Detroit Lions' demise were somewhat premature. They rounded out Week 3 on Monday Night Football, travelling to Baltimore, and statement wins don't come much bigger than this. They recorded a 98-yard touchdown drive, a 96-yard touchdown drive, and then on defense, no fewer than 6 of their players sacked Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson as the defensive unit rolled through Baltimore with 7 sacks on the night. They record a 38-30 win on the road. Their record improves to 2-1. The Ravens slip to 1-2. It all means we're left with 6 undefeated teams through 3 weeks of this NFL season. The Bills, the Colts, the Chargers, Eagles, Buccaneers and Niners. But there are also 6 teams still without a win. Perhaps unsurprisingly to many, the Saints and Giants. They're joined by the Dolphins, Jets, Titans and Texans. And we've had our first coach firing of the new season. The Atlanta Falcons parted ways with wide receiver coach Ike Hilliard after a crushing loss to divisional rivals, the Carolina Panthers, a game in which the Atlanta Falcons never got over the 30-yard line. All this, of course, happening in a weekend when we had no less than 4 blocked fourth-quarter field goals in the early slate of games on Sunday. 2 of them came to the Eagles. The second resulted in Jordan Davis, big man with football, taking the blocked effort to the house as the Eagles remain undefeated. The Browns blocked the Green Bay Packers and came from 10-0 down to win as time expired. But it wasn't so good for the Jets. Head coach Aaron Glenn thought their blocked field goal, which they took to the house, was going to get him his first win as a head coach this season. He didn't factor in giving Baker Mayfield enough time to drive the Bucs down the field, and it was the Buccaneers who were smiling when it was all said and done. An incredible weekend of action, and we're only 3 weeks in. Already it's time to turn that page and look ahead to Week 4 in the NFL.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Hello, welcome along to the show. I am your host, Richard Graves, and without going any further, let's refer to the elephant in the room. It is our record, which now stands at a disappointing 2-6-1. One of those blocked field goals I was just referring to, the second one for the Philadelphia Eagles, it was a head-in-the-hands moment. Remember, on this show last week, we said take the Rams at plus 3.5-point underdogs. It was won. It was in the books. It was over. Even if they missed the field goal, the Rams are only losing by a point. If they kick it, they win the game and easily cover the spread. Chalk one up in the win column for the Graves on Gridiron podcast. Not so fast, said Jordan Davis, as he took the ball to the house. It was a big win for the Eagles, and it meant that the Rams didn't cover the spread. Okay, that was a body blow, but surely the Bears and the Cowboys would deliver because neither of their defenses had shown anything through 2 weeks, and it all looked to be rosy in the garden as quarterbacks were driving the offenses up and down the field. The Bears already have more than 21 points on the board into the fourth quarter. Not once, but twice. The Cowboys drive deep into the red zone, and twice their quarterbacks managed to find a Bears defensive back in the end zone, taking certain touchdowns away and giving us no points whatsoever. So that was 0-2 for the weekend. Surely the Giants couldn't cause the upset on Sunday Night Football. You're right, they couldn't cause the upset. The Chiefs delivered, and I said on this show last week, no matter how many the Chiefs score, it's going to be the Giants who can't score. And that, sure as night followed day, happened. The New York Giants were limited to just 6 points, and that was because they missed the extra point chip shot, having scored their only touchdown of the game, their first on home turf during this fledgling NFL season. So it was a 1-2 record on the week. It means we are 2-6-1 for the season through 3 weeks. We need to be turning that around. And it's going to happen this weekend in week 4 because we've got 3 games that we're previewing that I feel very good about. And I'm looking forward to all of them. Let's not forget, the international games continue as the NFL ventures for the first time in 2025 into Europe and a first ever sortie to Ireland, where Dublin will be the host venue for the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Minnesota Vikings. The Steelers with a 2-1 record, the Vikings with a 2-1 record. For Minnesota, of course, this is the first of back-to-back games to be played over the next fortnight. From here, they will go on to play at Tottenham Hotspur's Stadium. They are 2.5-point favourites as they go into this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I have to say that Carson Wentz, who started his first game for the Vikings, the 6th different team he started for in 6 different seasons in the NFL. He looked sharp last weekend. Remember how Sam Darnold came in at short notice last season under Kevin O'Connell, the head coach for the Vikings, and he defied all his critics. He was sharp, he was accurate, the Vikings offense was rolling. Well, this was largely more of the same for Carson Wentz last week when they hosted the Cincinnati Bengals. But you have to say as well, that he did just as much as he needed to do because he had a good running game. Jordan Mason, 16 carries, 116 yards, 2 TDs. That's over 7 yards, a rushing attempt. But it was made all the easier because the defense was lights out against the Bengals. Isaiah Rodgers, pick 6, fumble recovery as well that he took to the house. Everything clicked as the Vikings put a 40-burger on the Cincinnati Bengals last weekend. The Steelers, at the same time, were also winning on the road in New England, but it was decidedly more uncomfortable for them. It didn't start out that way. It looked like it might be as they raced into a 14-0 lead, but then they opened the door and allowed the Patriots to come back, tied up at 14-all. But you look through the game, and while Steelers' offense seemed to get stuck in mud, the Patriots kept putting themselves in scoring range, should I say. Not just goal scoring, but touchdown scoring range. And then kept coughing up the ball, turning it over. So you doff the cap to the Steelers' defense. Bend but don't break, I think is how it's termed. And they certainly bent but did not break. And they managed to keep giving the ball back to their offense. But I've got plenty of concerns about what we've seen from Pittsburgh now through 3 weeks. Remember, week 1, they gave up plenty to Justin Fields and the New York Jets offense. The Pats, again, last weekend, seemed to be able to move the ball up and down the field at will. They will have a partisan Irish crowd in their corner this weekend in Dublin because the Steelers have got the advertising rights to the Irish market, and there's a strong connection between the Steelers and the fan base in Ireland as well. However, I look at this game and I think that despite it being Carson Wentz in at quarterback and there being obviously a shuffling around of the pack with J.J. McCarthy out for several weeks, I just like what the Vikings have put on tape here. I like how they played against the Chicago Bears in week 1 when they, for 3 quarters, weren't in the game but showed a resilience, a character about them to come back in the 4th quarter. Fine, okay, it didn't go their way week 2, but then you come out against a team who were depleted because Joe Burrow wasn't a quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. But when that door's open, you've got to kick it down. And that's exactly what the Vikings did last weekend. And whichever way you dress up 3 performances from the Pittsburgh Steelers, they haven't kicked anything down so far. Yes, they've got wins on the road in New York against the Jets and in New England against the Patriots. But I haven't been convinced by what I've seen in either of those performances. And Aaron Rodgers may be a surefire Hall of Fame quarterback in years to come. And he may have a Super Bowl ring to his name. But his best days are long behind him. I think he's slowed down a step at the moment. And I don't see it coming back. I don't see enough from other areas of this offense to compensate for that. DK Metcalf is a stud of a wide receiver, but one man on his own is not going to beat this Vikings defense. What Brian Flores has got going in Minnesota, it's one of, if not the best unit in the NFL right now. And defense wins championships. Defense wins games in hostile environments. The Vikings can expect a hostile environment in Dublin this Sunday, but they have the better all-round roster for my liking. 2.5-point favorites. I don't see them making the same mistakes that the Jets, and certainly not the same mistakes the Patriots did last week. The Vikings will be walking out of Dublin, going on to London with an improved 3-1 record. Take the Minnesota Vikings to win and to cover at -2.5. We still have 2 games to look at as well. One is in the bag, the Vikings at -2.5. The 2 to come, the Chargers go to the hapless Giants, and then perhaps the marquee matchup of Week 4. It's the Ravens on the road to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's coming next on Graves on Gridiron.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Welcome back to the show. This is Graves on Gridiron. I am Richard Graves. We've already previewed the Dublin game, the NFL's first ever sortie into Ireland in a regular season. The Steelers and Vikings, 2 more to look at. And the first features one of the 6 remaining undefeated teams in the NFL. The LA Chargers, with a 3-0 record, travel to MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Giants. And they're already asking in the Big Apple, is it time for the rookie quarterback, Jackson Dart, to start? Because what we've seen from Russell Wilson, I said week 2 was an outlier. He was throwing bombs against a very porous Cowboys secondary. The real Russell Wilson is the Russell Wilson we've seen in weeks 1 and 3 at MetLife Stadium. Remember, the opening weekend of the season, this Giants offense could only muster 6 points. And then this last Sunday night against the Chiefs, it was 9 points. These just aren't good enough. You cannot play this sort of offense and win games, and it's part of the reason why the Giants have been in the top 10 in the NFL draft picking for the last several years now. This is not good enough. I tell you whose time it is. It's Cam Scatterboo's time, the rookie running back for the New York Giants. Their number 1 running back, Tyron Tracy, dislocated his shoulder against the Chiefs. He's going to miss an extended spell now. So we are going to see Cam Scatterboo featured more, and who knows? His tough, no-nonsense, physical running style might fire a spark in this Giants offense. But they need something, because what they're putting out on paper and on tape right now is turgid. And look who's coming into town. Jim Harbaugh and the LA Chargers, with their perfect record. Look at the teams they've beaten. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Las Vegas Raiders, most recently the Denver Broncos. And do you know what all those 3 opponents have in common as well? All 3 are divisional rivals for the LA Chargers. So they've played 3, they're 3-0 in their division. The Giants have played 2 of their divisional rivals so far in the Commanders and Cowboys. They are 0-2 in their division. And you look at what the offense has been doing for the Chargers. They've scored 27, 20, and 23. Now, that is not going to light up anybody's stat sheet. When you look at points scored, offensive ranking standings, it's good, it's not outstanding. But when you're backed up by a solid defense and you're able to control time of possession, 2 things that the LA Chargers do very well, when you're scoring 27, 20, and 23 points, more times than not, that is going to be enough to get the job done. And we spoke about Cam Scatterboo, The rookie running back for the Giants, maybe this is his time. He's going to be featured more. Well, Amarian Hampton, another rookie running back taken in this past April's draft, he's going to have an increased role now with the veteran Najee Harris sustaining a season-ending injury against the Broncos last week. That's unfortunate for him. We hope that he has a speedy recovery. But Amarian Hampton, he fits into this system very well. And all this just serves to make quarterback Justin Herbert look better than he's ever looked before. We never doubted his talent. He's got a great arm. He's accurate. But now they've got a running game that marries up. You've got the play action. He gets more time in the pocket. You've got receivers making plays when they're called upon. The Chargers are the real deal, folks. And now you go to New York to play a Giants team who can't get out of their own way on offense. Well, we looked at the line last week and said it was the total points and go under between the Giants and Chiefs. Guess what? If it's not broken, don't fix it. The line for the total number of points in this game, Chargers-Giants, stands at 44. The Chargers may well score another 27. They might even get to 30. But I tell you what, the Giants aren't getting to 10 against this Chargers defense. I'm taking the under again. It worked for us last week. It's going to work again. Under 44 total points when the Chargers play the Giants on Sunday. That's 2 in the books. Which is the third? It's the game of the weekend for me. It's the Baltimore Ravens going to the Kansas City Chiefs. A fevered Arrowhead Stadium will await. And remember what sort of atmosphere we had in Baltimore, M&T Bank on Monday night for the visit of the Lions. Well, you're going to get the same again this weekend. Only this time, it's the Ravens walking into the Lions' den. Arrowhead's going to be ready for this. They've already seen the defending Super Bowl champion, the Philadelphia Eagles, come into town and escape with a narrow 3-point win. A game which I still believe, having watched back, the Chiefs should have won that game. Remember Travis Kelce? Surefire touchdown pass in the end zone, bobbles it, coughs it up, and the Eagles defense take it 2/3 of the way back downfield, reversing field, ultimately reversing the scoreline. So the Chiefs can do it. They're 1-2, and everybody talks about the Chiefs have no offense, the Chiefs are struggling. Well, yeah, maybe they are, but that's no different a narrative to what we've seen in the last couple of years. And you look at what we've got now from the Baltimore Ravens, and I've got to tell you, I've got some concerns. You know, Ravens football is always meant to be physical. Ravens football is always meant to be tough. Ravens football is largely about defense. Well, that good defense of the Baltimore Ravens has given up 41 points and then last weekend 38 points in 2 of their opening 3 games. And those 2 teams who've really kept the scoreboard rolling against them, they are playoff Super Bowl contending rivals. The Buffalo Bills scored 41, came back from 2 scores down, remember, late on in week 1. And then last weekend, you had the Detroit Lions going into Baltimore, and they were behind as well in the second half. And they turned the game on its head by running the football straight up the gut. This is what the Baltimore Ravens are meant to do. They've got Derrick Henry, this big physical running back. They've got Lamar Jackson, who can make plays, has got more rushing yards than any quarterback in NFL history. And yet, when games get tight and the going gets tough, they seem to just move away from the running game in Baltimore. You have Lamar Jackson scrambling around, trying to make throws downfield. That's how you get sacked 7 times in a game. Did you see the Detroit Lions do that last weekend? Did you see them ignore the running game and just say to Jared Goff, you wing this ball out downfield. You look for Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameis downfield as well. Jameson Williams, rather. No, they didn't. They didn't have much success in the opening quarter and a half running the ball, but they stuck with it. They ran the ball on 38 occasions against this physical, tough Ravens defense. I use physical and tough in inverted commas. Do you know how many times the Ravens ran the ball with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in that game? A game that they were leading in the second half? 19. They quit on the run in that game. And until you get back to Ravens football, I think you're going to have games like this. You're going to have issues. And that isn't without even contemplating the fact that your workhorse running back, Derrick Henry, has now got 3 fumbles to his name this season, 2 of them coming at critical times in the fourth quarter and handing possession back to the Bills, and then last weekend the Lions, in scoring position. Like I say, I've got concerns about this Ravens team right now, and let's not forget as well that their defense is missing a couple of key parts as well. Nnamdi Madubuike and Kyle Van Noy are both injured and missing at the moment. They are influential cogs in that defensive wheel for the Baltimore Ravens. So you look at this line, and the Ravens go into Kansas City as 2.5-point favorites. Look, I know they've scored points for fun. 41 points against Buffalo. Sorry, 40 points against Buffalo. 41 points against Cleveland. 30 points last weekend against the Detroit Lions. And there's no doubt about it. If they get to 30 points, I think they win this game. But the Chiefs, contrary to the narrative of being Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce in this offense for 2.5 years now, have relied on Steve Spagnuolo and a good defense. It's won them 2 Super Bowls against good teams, the San Francisco 49ers and Philadelphia Eagles. And it's the unit that stands out to me coming into this game. So if you're telling me, having seen what we've seen from the Baltimore Ravens, what they've put on tape in the first 3 weeks, that they're going to Arrowhead and they're winning this game convincingly, I'm not buying what you're selling. I can't buy what you're selling. There's been too many mistakes, too many things that haven't been quite right with the Baltimore Ravens. It might not be the popular choice, but I know what Kansas City brings to the table. I know that whilst they have a 1-2 record, it could easily be 3-0. Those were narrow, squeaky losses against the Eagles and the Chargers down there in Brazil. I don't see them dropping this one to the Ravens. I think they win it outright. But this show isn't about outright wins. It's about the spread. The spread says the Chiefs are 2.5-point underdogs. Give me Kansas City. I'm taking the Chiefs to cover at plus 2.5. Okay, so to recap the 3 games that we're taking for week 4. Remember, week 3 had drama, it had tension, excitement, sensational plays aplenty. Week 4 has got an awful lot to live up to, but I have no doubt it will as the NFL lands for the first time in Dublin, Ireland. So, that is the first of our 3 games to recap. The Steelers and Vikings. Minnesota go into Dublin as 2.5-point favourites. Take the Vikings not only to win, but to cover that 2.5-point line as well. Then it's the Chargers and Giants. The Giants just can't get out of their own way on offense at the moment. So it's the total points line once more with them to look at. Go under 44 before we finish out at Arrowhead Stadium. A potential AFC Championship match. Maybe. Ravens and Chiefs. The Chiefs at home, 2.5 underdogs. Do not believe it. We're taking the Chiefs at 2.5-point underdogs to cover that line. As I always point out at this point in the show, first and foremost, it's about fun. The games I've looked at are to enhance your enjoyment of this week 4 slate of games. Bear that in mind when you're watching. I love to hear from you as well on social media. Feel free to reach out, be it on X, Richard Graves 1, equally RDG Media UK on Instagram. It's been a blast as always. Fingers crossed now we start to turn that record round. We're due a little bit of good fortune, I think. We'll find out if we get it. Join me next week for another edition of Graves on Gridiron.
Subscribe to Graves on Gridiron wherever you listen to podcasts. And keep up to date with the latest on Twitter. Search for Richard Graves 1. That's Richard Graves, the number 1.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.